Hey y'all, Toad here. Say hi, Bron.
Hello.
Alright, my buddy Bron and I are here. We're just going to bring you a little, a video that's been asked for. I was going through the questions and comments and whatnot, and I came across a question about the primitive tools. And I haven't bought the primitive tools out in, oh man, it's been close to a year. So be prepared for some dust. But these are the basics. I guess the first thing I'll do is show you the toolbox. Let me get it here. It's got some dust and shavings in it. And I don't know if I can get the whole thing in the camera, but it's really that traditional kind of box everybody's seen. I threw this one together. This is some old scraps of mahogany. This is an old curtain, closet rod that I threw in there, and it's about 2.5 feet long and about 10 inches wide. And this is just some wrapped leather. Give you something to grab onto. Real simple, you know. And you watch any old movies or see the old plumbers or even carpenters, you see this kind of box. Now these are just the basics. And here's the hand throw. Now I've got a video out on that. If I'll remember, I'll put it down there. But this was made from a piece of spring. A buddy of mine knocked it together and I put the handle on. It fits my left hand because this is used, as you'll see in the other video, basically to split smaller pieces of wood. Now, most of these tools are basically designed for making things out of trees, not kiln-dried lumber you buy at the store. You can use them on that, but morally the focus is to bring it from cutting a piece of a tree down and making something from it. So obviously it would start out not the shape, unless you're just looking to make something that's round. You're going to have to mess around with it. So you can use this to split into the size you want. Let's see what else we got here. Let's go ahead and go with the mallet. This is the one I carry in the toolbox. Now, anybody who's watched my channel knows I've got a lot more of them. Different sizes, different, for different uses. Everything from carving to just general hitting stuff. And this is general hitting stuff. That's what this is for. Again, small piece of wood, say you wanted to split something this size to make something smaller. You put the froe where you want it, pretend it's still there, whack the back of the froe, splits the piece of wood, smaller piece of wood to work with. Like I was just telling Bron here, woodworking is nothing more than taking pieces of wood and shaping them into what you want. And sometimes you got to start pretty crude. Okay, what else we got here? Yeah, most of these tools are pretty crude. But, they've been around. These types of tools have been around for some of them for thousands of years. All right, let's say you're making a chair seat, right? Or you're doing a bowl, and you're not using a lathe. That's what you can use these for. These will cut in. The cutting edge is right there, and these will cut and scoop. Cut and scoop out that wood. You make a chair, you get little spots for your butt cheeks. That's what does it. That kind of thing. And I've got a couple of those. This is a pretty fine one. This one's a little more, I guess you call it tougher. You want to get in and make big gouges, because this is all one blade. You can really use this a lot harder than you can use this one. This one's more for more detailed work towards the end. So you could say, you could start with this one and finished with this one. But what if you got to make a big gouge? Yeah, that's where the zombie-looking tool comes in. Yeah, it's like it's an adze. That's what you could call it. But you can really whack down and scoop stuff out. You're going to build a log canoe. This thing can come in really handy for that, to bust them out. So you could say, you start with something like this and work your way into the smaller, more detailed stuff. Let me set these out of the way. And then, well, goes untight.
Thank you.
Let's say you want to make a square hole. Okay? You want to make a big square hole. All right, you can start out with the bit brace, and yeah, excuse the dust. Just the larger of the two bit braces that I carry. Where's the little one? There it is. These are the two bit braces that I have. And I don't have it in this toolbox because it's too big, but I actually have one that has an extension off of here and this little spoon-shaped deal, so you can actually lean your body against it, and then turn it. Kind of like a gun, how you hold a gun stock up against your shoulder. That's kind of what the end of the bigger one looks like, and you can lean right up against it. Because while these are great for doing small holes, what if you got to do like a big 2 or 3 inch hole? Well, you got bits. You know, some of these bits are pretty big. Inch, inch and a quarter. I'm not going to bring them all over here, just a few of them. But then you still got to square the hole up, right? It's a round hole. Well, if you're doing a, regular everyday size hole, you can just use a chisel. I'm not going to bring my chisel set out, but, everybody knows what chisels are. But what if you're making a big hole, like you're building a timber frame building, and you've got to make a square hole 5 or 6 inches wide and a foot long? Then you got this boy. That's what this is for. It's like a chisel on steroids. And I've used this for a lot of other things. Again, yeah, zombies. There's no doubt about that. That would be an effect, and that is sharp. That is very, very sharp. These actually, most of my tools were made in either England or in Finland, Sweden, places like that, where they appear to still know how to make good steel. And I do have a modern chisel. Comes in handy, it is. I'm just showing you what I carry in that basic toolbox. I do have a metal small hammer. I think it's about 1.5 pounds. And I do carry one plane. Pretty long plane. This is for if you want to make this nice and smooth. See how it's got a blade sticking out the bottom? You can adjust that blade, the depth, how far it goes down inside, and you set that down and run it across, and the shavings will come out here, and it'll smooth down your boards. Now, planes are a video in and of themselves. There's literally hundreds of different kinds of planes for making different shapes. You've seen a router table, right?
Yes.
Well, this is kind of the predecessor to the rounding off table. They have blades that'll have shapes in them, so you can put the shapes onto the wood with it. And I've probably got, 25 planes, including all. This is my second biggest one. There's one more that's bigger for doing big, long boards. The bigger it is, the smoother you can get a bigger surface. And I've got one that's about that big. Little itty bitty baby plane. Perfect for doing arrow shafts. You know how we make our arrows? This plane is perfect for that. It's nice and tiny. You can just take off little bitty bits of the wood at the times for making wooden arrows. Okay, what am I missing? Oh, a couple of carving knives. Mora, Sweden, $5. Dirt cheap. Got more of a curved blade carver and then a straight blade carver. And I have got, 8 or 9 different ones. In fact, just for the record, these are also Moras. M-O-R-A. Check them out. They've got lots of great little carving stuff. And like I said, I think I paid $5 for these knives, and each one of them comes with a little plastic sheath. So, in fact, I carry the stainless steel version on my sailboat. They're really, really nice. Okay. A little more modern but useful, the handsaw. I like the keyhole saws. A lot of people like to use the regular big old crosscut saws. Most of the stuff I do is pretty small, so the little handsaw works for me. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you real quick, because it's kind of a pain in the butt to show on the camera because it's kind of big. Where is the handle? Oh, I can't find the bloody handle. Anyway, it's the handle. Oops, I just hit the camera. It's the handle for this guy. There it is. Here's the handle. Big old piece of ash. And it's about 1.25 inches in diameter. And what we're going to put on it is this guy. Where the handle goes through, that's the blade. And this is a fro. This is what they used to use back in the day for knocking shingles together. Or actually knocking them out, depending on how you want to look at it. You put the handle through, and counterintuitively, the blade faces down. Once you get the handle through, give a little knock on the bench, and it's nice and tight. You mostly see this to make shakes or shingles. If you imagine a log, right, about much bigger on camera. I'm showing him while we're talking about this. Imagine a log, 10, 12, 18 inches in diameter, right? You know what a shingle for a roof is, right? Well, they used to make those out of wood. So what they would do, they'd take this tool, put it on top of the log, and whack it with a really big version of that. And what it would do is it would split the log just like you're making firewood, right? Mm-hmm. But then you split it again until what you get is something that looks like that. You're basically splitting little boards out of it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So trying to demonstrate it on camera is a little tough, but one of these days I'll actually make a video of that. Imagine these are parts of your log, and you split and you split and you split until what you have taking out a log looks like that. And then what happens when you put them on the roof? You have shingles. And they did this for hundreds of years. So that, okay, does it take a little time? Sure, but back in the day they didn't have Home Depot to go buy asphalt shingles that they made out of oil. And they'd use cedar or some other really awesome wood. Now, we're going to make a video at some other time talking about actual woods and what they're good for, because there's so many different kinds of wood and they have so many different properties. Anyway, y'all, I just wanted to give you a quick look at the primitive tools that I carry in the toolbox. There's a lot more of it, but this is kind of the basics. If you have any questions, comments, knock yourselves out down there. For right now, I'm going to say goodbye. Say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Say goodbye. Oh, there's... What's your hand? Go like this. Go like this. Bye. Come over here. Right here. Bye. Bye.